So we argue that COVID-19 pandemic offers a great opportunity for businesses to shift towards more genuine and authentic CSR and contribute to address urgent global social and environmental challenges, which can also influence company marketing. So in this session, Ms. Noemi Ibarle will be talking about corporate social responsibility in an era of COVID-19. Noemi T. Ibarle, a chartered professional in human resources, a certified Lean Six Sigma Yellow Belt, president at FME HR Consulting Incorporated, 21 years of professional experience working in various industries, armed with the best HR practices, trends, and techniques, and also a strategic HR partner. Dear viewers, Ms. Noemi Ibarle. Good
Hi,
morning, Noemi.
good morning. Hi, Jester. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes. Yeah, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the warm welcome, Jester. So, like what you've said, no, I'll be discussing about the corporate social responsibility or CSR in an era of COVID-19. So, I'll start and share my screen now.
All right. Yes, please.
Make more time.
There you go.
All right. So, good morning, fellow HR people, and I hope that you are excited today to learn more about, the new trends in HR and how we are coping up with COVID-19. So, my topic for today is CSR in an era of COVID-19. So, in the next 30 minutes, I will be discussing the following items. So, first, we will discuss definition of CSR for our common reference, and then the evolution of CSR in the country and how and when it started, the CSR in the Philippines, and then the impact of COVID-19 to CSR programs, where we are right now, what we can do, how do we continue these programs, and what the CSR looks like 2021 and moving forward. We will also discuss like how the corporate world can contribute to the societal goals during the recovery from this global crisis. So first, for the definition. So corporate social responsibility is actually the ethical behavior of company towards society. So it means that companies need to be economically viable and have a positive impact on society and respect and preserve the environment. In terms of the evolution of CSR, CSR started as a profit focus. So the company only exists for short-term share profit holder. Then in 1960s, the CSR is more on donations. So it's actually a decade of philanthropy, passive donations to charities when requested. So it was very rampant and organizations started contributing. Then more and more companies realize the link between CSR and their businesses. So they have seen that this is a good business model that can attract consumers. So it has transitioned to a community affairs, strategic giving linked to business interests, like a lot of marketing as well. In the Philippines, also in this time during the 1970s, this is when the organizations were formed. And one of the pioneers in the Philippines is PBSP, or the Philippine Business for Social Progress. This is the largest NGO in the country with about 263 member companies. So if you wanted to be part of any donations or whatsoever, you can go ahead and be a member of PBSP. Then it has become a corporate community investment, strategic partnership initiated now by the company. Companies are geared towards institutionalizing CSR and sees its value in retaining people. It has become part of HR programs. So CSR is now both important for the consumers and the companies, and the CSR programs are a great way actually to raise the morale in the workplace. Then it's now like a sustainable business integrated into business functions and goals and strategy. It has now become part of the company's budget. These budgets are set in place at the start of the year. And almost all of the organizations have CSR programs right now. And during this time, the question is, how does CSR look like in an era of COVID-19, since we are now faced with unprecedented tensions and organizations are really struggling? So in CSR in 2020, the values of CSR have a place in this time of uncertainty and anxiety. With several layoffs across the world, not across the world, globally, employees are actually crying out for help and calling out organizations to have empathy. And one of the core components of CSR is really about putting a human face on business entities by communicating empathy, understanding and supporting both moral and financial, especially those who need it most. HR people or people managers are revisiting their CSR programs and adjusting to their needs of the time. And the pandemic became an eye opener as well for the organizations to examine their purpose and how their business operates. And while every business is faced with navigating the new economic landscape for its long-term survival, there are also short-term challenges and opportunities that can be addressed using the values of CSR. And I would like to focus on the four elements of CSR: the workplace, social, and natural environment, and economic responsibility. So let's start with the workplace responsibility first. There is no doubt that CSR activities are intended for the general public, but it starts with the employees from the companies. And ensuring employee safety is part of our responsibility. It's part of our responsibility. And there are two ways actually to ensure the safety of our employees during this time. The first one is the work from home setup. I understand that not all jobs can be done, remotely. And while I recognize the value of working in the office, and some of us may miss, that like the day-to-day interaction, like the face-to-face daily interaction, many organizations have shifted and reconstructed their business model to allow more employees to work from home. In fact, some organizations, decided like that some certain positions can now be permanent work from home setup. However, in the event that some of your positions or some or maybe your whole business cannot really perform a work from home setup, it's also a call for us to be more flexible. Consider probably a compressed work week, say 4 times a week in the office and then 1 day off, 3 days at home, or 2 weeks straight in the office and two weeks straight at home. There are several ways on how we can, maximize and limit employees from leaving their homes, because, it's not really safe to go outside. Again, with the premise that if work can be done remotely and if the deliverables are also met. And okay, and at the same time, if working on site is really a must, it is our responsibility to ensure that all the safety protocols are being followed by our organizations. And a regular checkup on the health of our employees is also important. So make sure in the office there's like you've given them masks. There are specific areas, designated areas where they can sit and it's not crowded. Just really following what the labor says. Okay, another item is mental health. So this is like the popular title of a K-drama. It's okay not to be okay. And mental health has been a very big issue during this pandemic. And I understand that Dr. Gia earlier discussed this. So I will not be expounding a lot about this topic. I just really wanted to emphasize that as HR professionals, it is also our duty to ensure that we check on our employees' mental health. And how do we do that? We initiate programs that will address issues of employees. So the HR, please create like forums or avenues to support your employees. a virtual one-on-one, weekly meetings, coffee sessions. There's a lot of innovative ways to on how the to continuously and interact with our employees and check their verbal and nonverbal cues. I guess, during this time, our listening skills and our radar will play a major role right now. We have to assist those facing hardships and vulnerability. Now, if your company can afford, there's also a lot of organizations that provide 24/7 helpline in case that they need someone to talk to. And for the managers, please stay in contact with your employees to create a balance between output. Keep the communication line open with your team members. Make sure you understand each employee situation. Like, how many people are there in the house? Does anyone lost any job? And do they have kids? Who is assisting during the e-learning? Because that has been, like a major concern and a major problem. How about your coaching skills as well? Extend any flexibility if needed as long as results is delivered. And another way on how to handle this, like I have this one client wherein she has there's an employee who has like 3 kids, like young kids that needs to be assisted during e-learning. So there was like a flexibility in a sense that she works first 2 hours of the day, and then about 4 hours she will be offline to ensure that she's gonna take care of the kids. And then after that one, she needs to go back to work. And in that way, you're able to help your employee adjust also to this time. Another one is that in terms of workplace responsibility is ethical labor practices. One way of being authentic is to ensure that your company is 100% compliant to the different regulations. As HR people, we have the direct line with top management. So let us drive the company in practicing genuine care and being fair. I think this is, this is your responsibility as HR people. Just make sure that um, everything is ethical, everything is fair, and that in the sense, in the case that you need to lay off people or, um, retrench people, redundant people, make sure that you do it properly and make sure that it is being done in good faith. I also wanted to stress the importance of the dollar issuances. The Department of Labor issued several circulars this year, probably like the most number of circulars to date. And they are drafted to protect the employers and the employees. So as HR people, please do not use it for convenience or do not take advantage of that one. I'll give you one example. When Dolly released the Labor Advisory 17 last May, which allowed employers to cut on employees' wages for a maximum of 6 months, there are some companies who took advantage of that advisory to save on costs. Like, even if they're not directly hit by the pandemic, they still use that memorandum because it's an opportunity for them to legally cut salaries. So again, please protect. As strategic HR partner, you have to protect the business. I understand that. But as HR professional as well, you also have to protect the rights of the employees and make sure that your company is practicing ethical labor standards. Next one is about social responsibility. So in the present era of COVID-19, it has been observed that some companies are performing CSR activities by promoting social awareness for social distancing. Are you familiar with the following logos? Yes. So these are the new logos of these companies, and these are just few of the companies who are sending their message to society in a very effective way. This is their one way of telling everyone how important social distancing is. And apart from transforming their logos into new shapes to express the importance of social distancing during the presence of coronavirus, many companies also have changed their advertisement slogans to make people understand that how important social distancing is. And just for an example, Nike. So their logo says that if you ever dreamed of playing for millions around the world, now is your chance. Play inside, play for the world. So as HR, go and coordinate with your marketing, branding team, or whatever department who is in charge of your company logo, etc., and see whether you can make changes and help campaign for social distancing. And probably I wanted to add, like, we are nearing Christmas season. It's already Christmas season. We are nearing Christmas, and we've seen the traffic in EDSA and all. But please make sure that your parties remain virtual, and keep informing your employees how important it is that we maintain social distancing. Another, as mentioned earlier, during the evolution of CSR, um, fundraising or outreach programs has served actually as one of the most commonly used CSR activities in an organization. Companies are tying up with several institutions to help communities. Now, how do we do that? Like, everyone is like struggling. I think as HR people, what you do is you do the internal evaluation first. You know, let's evaluate the conditions of our employees and their families. Yes, they may have kept their jobs, but we don't know if any of the family members were laid off, thus making it financially difficult for them. So in short, check your internal organization before extending external reach. Now, if there's anyone internally who is really struggling and you wanted to raise funds for that one, you can create a group in Viber and Slacks or any other social media, like a buy and sell thing. It's kind of very common. They're selling cookies, baked cookies. They're selling plants, and whatever. I mean, this can serve as an additional income to your employees, and at the same time, engaging everyone in helping their own people. Now, if the company has extra funds, or like if the company is not that hit by the pandemic, I also suggest that you invite employees to do their share and contribute to the society. One example to help is that we can sponsor one family for one Christmas basket. If I'm not mistaken, like for World Vision, I guess it's just 500 pesos for one family, sponsoring, like a Christmas basket just to make sure that they have something to eat in Noche Buena. 500, your 500 can go a long way, and admin wise, and can just be through salary deduction. Or if the company has, enough funds really budgeted for CSR activities, there's also one client of mine. What they did was they distributed the fund to each team or each department. For example, they gave 5,000 each department, and then the team decides on what to do with that fund. And in that way, you're able to involve them in these activities, and they're socially aware of what's happening. So one team did was they bought sacks of rice and then repacked it and donated it to a barangay in Quezon City. And then another team, what they did was they bought raw food, cooked it, pre-packed it, and automatically give it to, like distributed it to drivers who lost, a lot of, their jobs this quarantine. So those are just like some of the examples on how we can show our social responsibility in this time. Next one is the natural environment responsibility. Yeah. So the first thing that would come to your mind is, like when you talk about green initiatives, would be tree planting, recycling products, etc. And I think that if there is a positive thing, in pandemic, I can say that we were able to, develop some like plantitos and plantitas. So I'm not sure how many of you here were into that, but I can tell you that I was like one of the plantitas. There was really a conscious effort for me to put a plant inside my house and to purify the air. And I was into like a lot of things about the seeds. What else can I plant in the house so that I don't need to go out and do my grocery? If I can plant it here, I wanted to do that. So it opened our eyes that we have to really take care of our environment. Another one is in terms of the natural environment, the climate change. Due to the work from home arrangements, we see that currently, especially in the first, especially during, April up to October, probably, we see that society is able to work without driving their cars in the workplace, and therefore without emitting huge amounts of carbon dioxide. So if this continues after confinement, we would undoubtedly reduce our carbon dioxide emissions, unclog, transport, and make daily travel easier, and improve the lives of millions of people who could have thus have a better work-life balance. Excluding, I don't want to mention about the traffic in EDSA, but yeah, again, like I think for from March up to July, we were able to, the emission of our carbon dioxide was really reduced, and that's really good. And the last part of CSR, I would like to discuss economic responsibility. Or it's going to be like business as usual, and we need to, start uh, focusing on our economy, and that's the reason why quarantines were lifted that time. So companies are trying to survive and to gain profit from business continuity. And I can see that moving forward, there will be a strong drive to create more jobs to be able to pick up from the loss since March. And another example of economic responsibility is when a company modifies, for example, if there's anyone here in the manufacturing company, or it's just an example, like modify your manufacturing process to include recycling products, which could benefit, by potentially lowering your cost and materials, and also benefit society by consuming fewer resources. So basically, that is CSR in the era of COVID-19. And I just wanted to say that, to be honest, CSR should not be costly. CSR should be genuine and with impact. And just make sure that your organizations are um, taking care of you, taking care of its employees and its dependents, and at the same time extend reach and how to take care of other organizations as well. So that's it. Thank you very much for inviting me here, and I hope that you've learned a lot from my presentation.
All right. Thank you very much, Noemi, for that. So we have actually this poses actually a lot of questions, especially for private organizations who are doing laying off, no, for
Yeah,
doing temporary layoffs now, or even um, downsizing their organization. So for private organizations, siguro for non-government organization and non-profit organization, this is the best time to conduct CSR activities kasi it will require partnerships and support, and even financial support, no? How about for private organization na nagda-downsize and nagle-lay off, tapos nakikita nila yung company na nagko-conduct ng CSR activity. So would that would you think that would pose a threat, no? Na kahit na genuine yung thought nila, kaso yung nangyayari nga is nakikita ng mga tao, ng mga employees na na-lay off, na nag nagbibigay ng social financial support sa mga community, while they're being laid off. So what do you think is the best uh, solution for this challenge, no?
yeah. Thank you for that question, Jester. No, it's actually called like corporate hypocrisy. Remember, sometime in, I think, if not 2008 or 2003, there was this Chinese mineral water company wherein they said that they will be donating 1 peso, let's say a centavo for every sale of the product, but then they did not really donate that amount. So in the same thing with your question, like what I've mentioned in my slide earlier, make sure that you are authentic and genuine. So before you help others, you look into your organization first, because it doesn't match that you are extending help to others and then you are laying off. And that amount could have been transferred, or that budget for CSR could have been transferred to save or to preserve jobs. I think that's the first thing that you would do. Stop the marketing, forget about the marketing, or the branding, or how other people will perceive your company. What is important is you take care of your people first. Keep your people first before the others, before all your marketing campaigns.
agree, no? So start doing CSR activities internally or sa people muna. Kasi they
Yeah,
often interpreted CSR activities because um um, few if not most of the companies think that CSR activities are just purely yung nagbibigay ng pagkain, no, food
correct,
distribution, nagpapakain, nag-i-inject, et cetera. So, nakakalimutan na nila yung buong meaning ng CSR activities and even internally, you can do CSR activities internally or CSR activities to your very own people. So, on a short glance, can you give us a very short glance kung ano yung CSR talaga? Kasi ang nakikita nila is parang food distribution lang ang CR eh. So, on a
yeah.
short glance, can you help us and the audience understand ano ba talaga yung CSR?
uh, it's our corporate social responsibility to take care of our people. That's why I emphasized in my slide earlier the workplace responsibility, which is one of the major things that we should focus on. We can probably delay other areas, but in this era, what we need to focus on is really the workplace responsibility, being socially responsible for our people. I mean, they need they it's their livelihood as well. I understand with the point of the business continuity, but at the same time, we need to make sure that um, we make sure that our employees are safe. We make sure that our employees are well taken care of, and I think that's the best CSR for in this time and moving forward. Just really focusing on our people now.
People, that is correct. Well,
People.
so we have one question here from broker Eleanor Valmonte, who kind of related to internal employees. So, do you think that work from home setup of BPOs now would lessen the employees' risk of various medical problems being acquired when they are in the original office setup before? Why or why not?
Um, a lot of the BPO companies right now have resorted as well to working from home. And based on the data from my actual data from one of my clients, they had this study about the medical conditions actually, and it has improved because, of course, the fact that they are not commuting during those, let's say grave hour shifts, they're able to have more sleep. They're able to have more work-life balance, and I think that's also a very good opportunity for other BPO, and that also opened the eyes of other BPOs in ensuring that business will continue and at the same time their employees are healthy. One part of their problem has been solved actually by this setup.
Right.
So I hope
No,
I answered your question, broker Eleanor Valmonte.
yun. And also check also if your company is capable kasi some would often transition to work from home setup. Ang support na binibigay nila is they give internet allowance, no? They even
Mm-hmm.
provide their employees with computer setup. Now if
Yeah,
you can really support your employees with that kind of assistance, then it's very hard for you to force your employees to transition to work from home setup. Given the
yeah,
fact that of course not all employees have their own personal computers and even have good internet connection. So if you're able to support, no, um, yes, provide assistance. If not, no, kung nasa work talaga, ensure that ma-lessen yung ma-mitigate yung mga risk natin. So both are okay. Tapos sabi nga ni Noemi, it's best that we check yung capability ng company. So thank
yeah.
you for
And
that question. Yeah.
yeah, correct. Also, as long as the client has, in terms of data privacy, all those things are also has to be considered as well.
Tama, no? Data privacy kasi we're
Yeah,
bringing the data at home, no? And
at
it's our
home.
data. And
Yes.
later we'll be tackling about data privacy with the attorney Erin Tanyada. So another question here from Agnes Amor. So what other social responsibility we could offer if the management is on a tight budget nowadays? So
Mhm.
lalo na ngayon ng pandemic, we are on a cost cutting.
Yeah. Again, in my recent presentation, and like what I've said, CSR should not be costly. Part of the social responsibility is to making sure that we have connection and direct communication with our employees. just really listening to them and providing them an ear to, like if they have any concerns or any issues, you are there to help them, that you understand what is happening. A lot of coaching. I think it doesn't really have to be that very costly if you do that, and that's part of social responsibility. Just being there, like physically being there with our employees, extending empathy and understanding their situation, being flexible with their needs, like what I've in my example earlier. Like if the employee has 3 kids and needed to assist during during the e-learning, a little consideration of flexibility in the working hours could be extended by the management, and that would not probably be like an additional cost for you, as long as the expectations or deliverables are met.
Right. So that's the key word there. No, it should not be costly and it should be genuine. So
Yeah,
I guess this is in relevance with the previous questions. No, how can small companies organize CSR initiatives? So ano ba yung mga pwede nga naman na
yeah.
CSR initiatives na pwede gawin ng small companies na siguro naging silang tips din yung mga hindi rin costly.
Like what I've said earlier, no, like really taking care of your people. Let's say for the workplace, responsive for the workplace, just making sure that the company is compliant with the labor. That's already one way of being genuine. And then if you really wanted to, organize some activities, if you have a budget, 500 for World Vision, that's already a donation. You can also do that. What else did I showed in my slides earlier? There's like a lot of ways. Just creating a group or a forum to make sure that employees are still engaged during this time. That buy and sell of products or whatsoever. Those are small CSR initiatives that you can actually start with. Not too costly, but still engaging.
Yun, no? So it's again, it's good to start the CSR activities internally, especially now we need to support our employees. Okay. So we have another actually thoughts here from Louis. Sabi niya nga, no, some companies retrench employees due to COVID-19 but actively
Yeah,
hiring 2 months. So
yeah.
very sad nga naman. So
Very sad. Yeah.
oo. Ito, one question from Keng Florendo. One of our employees tested positive for COVID-19 in August. No, we are a work from home setup since March up to date. So we only have 2 employees reporting in the office due to poor internet access at home. Now, employee who tested positive for COVID needs to report to the office to finish a project. No? We presented a fit to work medical certificate with which indicates that he doesn't have COVID symptoms na. However, 2 employees who are reporting in the office insisted that they don't want to report in the office, no, if yung employee ay siguro nandoon, no. So how do we address that kind of challenge, lalo na sa mga um, key, no, personnels na matindi yung mga deliverables nila, kaso in the middle na wala siguro silang kapalit, no, uh, napipilitan silang papasukin pa rin ng trabaho kahit na dumaan sila sa ganung sitwasyon. So how do we best deal with this kind of situation?
HR people should really educate and really mentor top management. Health is more important. Your life is more important than anything. And I think, this is the pandemic is global. And if that is the case, you can always go back to your client and explain the situation instead of risking the life of your employees. And for those employees who are scared, well, I totally get that. But as long as the employee is cleared, and I think there's also should be like, a protection to the one who got COVID-19. If that person is already cleared, I think there's no reason for other employees to be scared of going to the office. No discrimination.
Mm. Ayun. So, siyempre mahirap, no, na naging positive pero kailangan walang discrimination, no? And also again, that would also encourage, no, and put up great risk sa company nyo knowing that nakakagaling lang. So, maliban sa isa na possible na magkailangan magpahinga, marami pang madadamay at kailangan magpahinga. So, maraming maapektuhan. So, it's like a domino effect na. So, it's
Correct.
best that first we understand the situation of our people, and then yun nga tayo na mismo yung tumingin ng backup plans, no, to support that problem. Alright, yan. Sabi nga ni Joko Sarte, no discrimination. Alright, anything else that you would like to share,
Yeah.
Noemi, to our viewers, no? And good.
Uh, yeah. Again, thank you so much, Jester, no, and for the CPHR for inviting me. So I hope you, in your companies as HR people, again, please protect your employees, keep them safe, and make sure that your CSR programs are authentic. Make sure your CSR programs, you walk the talk. I think that's my last word.
Alright, so that's the keyword there. Walk the talk. No? Shouldn't be costly and it should be genuine. Thank you, Noemi, for that presentation. No? And it is during these times when companies really need to walk the talk when it comes to corporate social responsibilities.